Greetings from Seoul, Korea. This is Nick Tasteless Plot, broadcasting to you the Averatec-Intel Classic, the largest tournament in Korea, with the largest prize pool. It's a real honor to be down here. I cannot wait to get these games started. We are in the phase where we have round 64 players left in the tournament. We're on the 4th week of that. So after this week, we will be going to the 32-player part of the tournament. So we are about to wrap this part up, but we have some very exciting games. Our first game is going to be a Terran versus Terran. AdamaS, also known as Cassie, will be facing off against Memory. And then after that, we're going to have a Zerg versus Terran. Junie, the Zerg player, against, and I'm sure you've all heard of him, Flash, the winner of the GSI, the player who beat Stork in an epic game. Very close. I think that's going to be a very entertaining match. Baby, the youngest pro gamer on the scene, the age of 13, American age. Very, very young. Against Anytime, a very well-known and very well-accomplished Protoss player. Also one of my favorite pro gamers to watch, actually. And finally, we will have a Protoss versus Terran. Yoon versus Nada. Nada, probably the most accomplished pro gamer of all time. Very, very skilled. And I think it's going to make for some very interesting games. I will say that I think Yoon is going to be the underdog. I also would like to say I think Memory will be the underdog in the match against Cassie, who has just recently changed his name to AdamaS, but I will probably be referring to him as Cassie through most of this cast, just because that's, well, he's the player that you'll probably, it's in his name, you'll probably recognize him from. The map listing is going to be Hills of Storm, then Coliseum, and then Andromeda. And I think it's going to be for some interesting games. These are all pretty new maps, so it's going to be one of these games where it's really tough to say how these players are going to open up because these maps are so new. They haven't had a whole lot of time to practice these maps in tournaments. They have, of course, been practicing for a very long time. You know, and with the team, this is a very prestigious tournament. There's a lot of people watching and a lot of fans here in the audience today. Cassie's a very interesting player. He's one of these gamers that he really outsmarts his opponent. He's kind of like Yellow in the sense that Yellow really gets inside of your head and tricks you, and you usually end up getting really far behind right off the bat. I saw a really interesting game with him earlier. Oh, I think I've been spotted. Yeah, it's Cassie, really, really brilliant player, and I think it's going to be a very exciting game. He's also one of these gamers that, well, he reminds me a lot of Slayer's Boxer, so to speak. A lot of people say he's kind of the new age Slayer's Boxer, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he plays this out. Memory is pretty new. Also does not have the outstanding record that Cassie does have, although Memory is a very skilled player. I was talking to Cassie briefly before the game, and he said he has high expectations for this round. Here we're seeing all the players who have been eliminated. I cannot read Korean out loud fast enough to read out their names, nor do they have the IDs. Many people don't know that in Korea they don't actually know the players' game IDs that well. They actually know their real names, which is very different from the non-Korean esport community, where most of the time we don't know the players' real names. We only know their game IDs. So in this case, we do see their real names. So on the Korean stream, they probably have a better idea of exactly who's been eliminated. But we also saw. Well, if you want to see some of the previous games, you can tune in to the VODs. They're all recorded on the gomtv.net site, and you can see some of these other games. We've probably broadcasted about half of these games in the round 2 of the tournament with 64 players left. The atmosphere is excited here. We have a lot of people showing up today. A lot more female fans than male fans as usual showing up to the StarCraft matches. This is actually the only sport where you have a incredible amount of women showing up to watch the games. These gamers have a large fan base, all of them. Even some of these newer pro gamers are getting fans already, and I do see some fans from Memory in the audience now. Again, it's a real pleasure to be down here broadcasting to all of you. StarCraft is my passion, as it is everyone at GomTV's passion, and we love sharing our passions with other people. Please be sure to spread the word and tell everybody to tune into this. I've been getting a lot of good feedback, finding out that these VODs are getting posted on all sorts of sites that aren't even related to gaming, so that's very exciting. We really appreciate all the support, and please feel free to tune in. Thanks again to our sponsors at Averatec-Intel. Averatec-Intel, the number one selling PC right now in Korea, and of course Intel has always been magnificent at sponsoring esport events. And I have to say, this is not the first tournament I broadcasted which has involved an Intel sponsor, so thanks again, Intel. You guys are the best. As far as the race distribution goes today, this is going to be a good day for learning Terran. We have at least one Terran player in every single round. So, and we have every single Terran matchup today. We have the Terran versus Terran, then Terran versus Zerg, Terran versus Protoss. So it's going to be for some exciting games. 3 very different top Terran players. Actually, I should say 4 very different top Terran players. I consider Baby to be very skilled, despite his very young age. So I think this is going to be a very educational day as far as Terran goes. Cheers to everybody at Team Liquid and Ghost of Gamers, WorldGameTour.com. All the StarCraft sites, English and Korean and any other language that they may be in. We appreciate your support. Feel free to tune in and watch all of the VODs. Again, these are all recorded on the GomTV.net site, so it's certainly you're certainly able to see every single game of this event. And here we're having the players listen again. There's Cassie on the left and Memory on the right. That'll be our first game. Cassie did change his name to AdamaS just recently, but I will be referring to it as Cassie during this cast, since most people know him as Cassie. And here we're seeing the later matches over here. I think this Baby versus Anytime match will be pretty exciting. I do think Baby will be a bit of an underdog, but I think he's still capable of possibly taking out Anytime. It's very interesting. We have so many of these new top players coming up that are incredibly young. I remember, when I was playing competitively about 6 years ago, people were saying that there was really no way you could become a professional gamer unless you were past the age of 18 because the mind had not developed. You hadn't developed the cognitive skills that you really needed to be that fast and to compute so many actions in your head and still outthink your opponent. And it's turning out that now we have players like Baby, who's 13, or players like Flash, who's basically the best Terran in the world right now. And he's only 15 American age. Unbelievable to see these players that are so young and are yet so good at the same time. Neither player has joined the game just yet, so they're probably still working out their settings. Mouse settings, very, very critical in StarCraft. Even your chair height, your monitor brightness, all of that stuff. They want to make sure it's just like it is when they're at home with the rest of the other pro gamers training. And here we're now getting a shot of AdamaS, also known as Cassie. He is very strong. I actually I casted one of his games earlier in the event at the round 128 phase, where he just did this brilliant maneuver where he walls himself in with a depot and only shows 2 Marines at the entrance. So the Zerg obviously thinks that there's going to be some type of double port Wraith rush or some type of mech build, something that would require the Terran to be walled in completely so that he couldn't lose early on. But instead, he actually made 3 barracks in his main and then killed the depot and walked down there and just wiped the Zerg out. The Zerg did not get sunken colonies in time because Cassie had tricked him completely. And here we're seeing Memory. This is his first match at GomTV, but I've also casted some of Memory's games before. He is very, very strong. And overall, I think he's pretty balanced as far as all of his skill sets go. Memory is, I've actually casted one of his games against Jaedong. He did lose, but it was a very entertaining round. He did go 1-2 against Jaedong, so he's clearly very skilled. Will his Terran versus Terran be enough to take on Cassie, though? I'm not sure. It'll be very difficult for him, but it is possible. Memory has had a lot more experience than some of the other pro gamers I'm in Cassie today. I do see Memory has now joined the game. Confirmed that he is ready. Looks like Cassie is not in the game yet, though. Here's a sign from one of the Korean fans. And I think this should be a very entertaining group of games today. Again, it's always going to be fun to cast StarCraft when Flash is playing. Flash is a very, very, very strong Terran player. Easily the strongest Terran player out there right now. He did win the GSI, the GomTV StarCraft Invitational, which, by the way, all the VODs are also on the GomTV.net site, so feel free to go check those out again. But he is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. All the pro gamers have been talking about him. He's just very, very skilled. I think, to be frank, I do think he's going to mop the floor with Junie, but that doesn't mean that Junie can't win at all. It's going to be very difficult for him. And of course, we do have a very entertaining game after that with Baby and Anytime. Anytime, very, very smart Protoss player, easily one of the best Protoss players of all time. And I love to see how he techs. He does very interesting techs. Also, one of these gamers that's not afraid to proxy and take risks, and it usually turns out in his favor. I think it will be tough for Baby, but I think it'll probably be one of our closer matches today. this initial match, too, Cassie versus Memory, should be one of the closer matches, I believe. Although this doesn't mean we won't see upsets. Last week, we had 2 major upsets, and I was just shocked. So, you know, there's always these new players coming up to take out the kings on their thrones and steal their crown. So, and it looks like this game's about to start right now, so let's get ready.
2008 TG Sambo Intel Classic. StarCraft Universe, welcome to the Korea Ultimate Tournament. Get ready.
So AdamaS, also known as Cassie, is going to be the blue Terran at the far top left spot. At the top right spot, we are going to have Memory, the yellow Terran. They're not in cross spots this time. They're going to be pretty close. We're probably going to see a pattern of both players trying to contain each other and then expanding downward, hugging the corner or the side of the map that they've already started on. Although hiding expos is certainly a possibility. Terran versus Terran, one of these matchups that requires a lot of patience and a lot of discipline to get very good at. It's one of these games where you really have to know when you can engage your opponent and when it's time to run away. Most of the Terran versus Terran matchup is centered around the siege tank. Siege tank, critical unit in every single Terran matchup, but especially in Terran versus Terran, because of its incredible range, as well as the fact that it can just you can contain your opponent so easily. Tanks with a few turrets or Goliaths to cover them, it makes it a very, very difficult spot to engage. And because of that, we do see a lot of containment in Terran versus Terran. We also do not see much usage of Marines, maybe 1 to 2 Marines at the start, occasionally a proxy barracks, simply because players do not get the Marines. But either way, it's an interesting matchup. It's also a matchup that is very much so centered around the dropship. Players need to get the dropships out. They need to fly around the map, getting critical locations. Terran mechanical army units do not have a lot of mobility, so because of that, the dropship is absolutely necessary in order to win. It's also great because then you can you don't have to engage these contain points. So, and it's also great when you do want to engage the contain points because you can drop the units on top of the siege tanks where they have to unsiege. Both players making their barracks will probably make 1 to 2 Marines out of that, then lift that barracks off using that to scout. This is also a common technique because Terran do not get very many. There's a sign from the Cassie fans. What was I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of times they do use the barracks to scout, simply because the barracks has so many hit points. Terran does not get very many units that can take on air or do a lot of damage to air very quickly. It's a smart move to use a building that has so many hit points to scout with, and then they attempt to go from there. When they see what their opponent's doing, they choose the proper tech pattern and attempt to win the game. It's also important that you don't lose that barracks though early on, because you can. You can't make any more factories until you get another barracks, and many times losing that barracks, if you're sloppy, can really, really hurt you in the long run. Here we have the factory going up. Marine is out. Looks like Cassie will manage to get inside, though. And they can see that the barracks is indeed being used to scout. Will he get the second factory, or will he get the starport? He can also get a command center. Many times we see players go command center first in this matchup. We did not see it in this game. Looks like it will be a fast expansion. We know that not just because the SCV is now building a command center over here by the minerals, but also because there is only 1 SCV in the refinery right now. And it looks like he will not, in fact. Okay, both players are actually going to be going for some type of fast expansion build. He will not scout with the barracks because he is fast expanding. He needs to make the entrance to his base smaller so it can act as a funnel in case a vulture tries to sneak by. And this SCV just will not die, will it? But that one will. Okay. And indeed, both players are going for similar openings. I'm interested in seeing if either one will actually engage the other, or if they will instead sit back and play defensively. And it does look like we now see Memory moving the barracks in the correct direction. So Memory will, in fact, be scouting with his barracks. Another factory now for AdamaS. Excuse me, AdamaS is moving his barracks in the correct direction. and it does indeed look as though Memory has now lifted his barracks off because he decided neither player is likely to engage the other one. He might as well use that as a scout. Command center should be finishing within a few seconds. Nope. Maybe more than a few seconds, although it does look as though AdamaS' command center is closer to completion. And as you can see, his timing is impeccable. The SCVs arrive exactly when the command center finishes. Very calculated player. And now the SCVs will also be set for Memory, again, right when the command center finishes. These pro gamers, they just have their build orders down pat. Down to a science. And as we can see, both players are sitting back macroing. Macroing is the phase a StarCraft player enters when he attempts to produce units and build up its economy. And StarCraft has the most strenuous macro out of any RTS game. It also has very, very difficult micro because units are so fragile, they do die so quickly. Here we see a few more vultures. Okay, and it does indeed look as though AdamaS has gotten mines. I do not know, however, if we're going to see mines from Memory. So AdamaS, also known as Cassie, planting a few mines, not only to be used as spotters, but also to possibly take out a tank or Goliath or anything else. Vultures do not set off mines. Maps like this do allow for massive amounts of vultures because there is small entries. And instead, we're going to see speed over here. He has walled in his opponent with the barracks and is now moving down here with these vultures, and he will be able to take out a few of Cassie's vultures. Meanwhile, the other vultures unable to come in here and assist due to that nice wall, and now zipping out and taking out a few SCVs. If he can continue to reinforce this with vultures, he could win, but it does appear as though AdamaS, also known as Cassie, has deflected the attack. And now that barracks is probably burning, will more than likely burn down. He will have to start building the new barracks very soon. So we're going to see a lot of vultures for the time being. If this map had a small entrance, we would not be seeing so many vultures, but the vultures do have so much mobility on this map. And you can simply overwhelm your opponent with these. If they attempt to go for tanks or something like that, you just plant a few mines in front of the tank. The tank doesn't fire fast enough to take out those mines. So vultures are going to be the way to go right now. It does appear as though Memory is a little bit ahead of Cassie in the factory count. Both players have to be very careful about where they position their vultures. They do want to get some type of an advantage. It's a lot harder to win a vulture battle if you're the one rushing into the fight. At the same time, though, when you try to put yourself in a good positioning, you don't want those vultures to instead run around and start picking off SCVs. And it looks like now both players are moving out, planting a lot of mines. And we can see now that Memory is going to have to back off. Another refinery has not been constructed for either player, and we do not see a lot of SCVs actually over at AdamaS' expansion. He has actually cut SCV production completely, and I think he's going to be okay. As I said before, AdamaS is a very, very smart player, and I think what he's going to do is he's cut SCV production completely, and actually is instead using that to make more vultures, and I think he may just out-vulture his opponent, who would not be expecting him to completely cut SCVs and take such a risk. And here he comes now. Will he have enough, though? It's very difficult to say. Vultures taking each other on. It does look as though Memory may actually win this battle. I think. Actually, no, maybe not. No, okay, it looks like, yeah, no. I have no idea what the hell's going on. Okay, it does look like, indeed, this battle will, in fact, fail for Cassie, which is very bad considering he has cut SCVs. However, he could muster up a few more vultures at a faster rate. As we can see, though, Memory's economy is going to be stronger. Still no SCVs, only vultures. I would say if Cassie doesn't out-vulture him in the next 3 to 4 minutes, he will be in a position that is almost impossible to recover from. His SCV count will be so far behind. Memory's certainly behind in factories now, going for a very standard build. Actually, I didn't see that factory down there. He may be even. But either way, the point being that Cassie is sacking these SCVs in an attempt to really get ahead in the vulture count Although it does appear as though Memory's playing safe enough and controlling his units well enough that he's managed to survive so far. And I don't believe there's any way that Memory would realize this is going on unless he's scanned and spotted the lack of units. Here he comes now! Great concave! I do believe that AdamaS will win this battle. Although there are vultures coming from both sides. There is a tank in the fray too. He needs to plant a few mines. There he goes now. Planting a few mines next to the tank. The tank will have to back off. More vultures on the way! He's just going to out-vulture him completely and totally. And Cassie will indeed win this game. Taking a very gutsy move. And I'm sure Memory is probably very confused as to where all of these vultures have come from. Unbelievable. I actually did not think this was going to work, but unfortunately for Memory, he felt confident after winning that first attack. And is instead trying to move out of his base, in which the vultures just came in here for an excellence round. Now the vultures do have the terrain contained, so to speak, with mines. More vultures. Even an SCV wants to get in on this battle. Look at that. Okay, now one SCV going to try and move out here. Unfortunately, this entrance does act as a funnel. Mine's going to be planted here. They will take out the tank. And what? Maybe not. The mine imploded instead of exploded. I don't know what just happened there. Okay, so I do still believe, though, that it will be difficult to recover this expansion. However, with the tank in that position, I think, actually, you know what? It looks like Memory might be able to get this expansion back. It is critical that AdamaS, also known as Cassie, does recover and take out this expansion because he does not have SCVs. This is, oh, and look at this. Move it in here now. Tanks do fire pretty fast. However, no! Very close again. AdamaS could rush in here right now with a bunch of vultures and plant mines. He may wait. It looks like he's now going to start massing up tanks. He probably has a lot of gas, so can now probably make several tanks and surprise his opponent again. But the longer this game goes on, the farther behind Cassie will get. I have presumed that Cassie started making SCVs again, though. And here we see scans picking off the mines. Cassie's contained, slowly getting pushed away. Note how concentrated the minefield is. That is because normally turret units could shoot down the mine the moment it pops up. However, if there are 2 or 3 mines, they can't shoot them all down. The mine still goes off. Memory putting the command center over here, which he will then float somewhere else, knowing that he does not really have map control yet, so he cannot hide a command center somewhere for fear that a vulture will pick off that SCV and the command center will come out much later. Here we see that now Memory is on the move. Will it be enough, though? And will AdamaS have enough to take this on? Siege tank's now going up! Cassie's going to have to back out. And Memory is rapidly approaching his opponent's base. Cassie probably very uncomfortable right now. The siege tanks are up, though. And it looks as though Memory will have to back off one siege tank. Going to make it very difficult to engage. He will set up a siege line right out here. The no man's land is where these vultures are. No, actually, okay, the vultures will indeed back off. The expansion is finished. Going for the refinery right off the bat. Look at that, a token white guy at the tournament as well. I'm not alone here. I think that very soon, Cassie might have to go for a counterattack. Something looks like that's what he's going to do now, but he's already bumped into these units here, but there are too many vultures. Siege tank now going up. The vultures and the siege tanks make it very, very difficult to engage the siege tank itself. The tanks are too slow, and the vultures are more than likely going to have their mines shot down by the enemy vultures. Looks as though Cassie has managed to cut off his opponent from doing too much harassment. We do see one wraith being constructed, which I think is a smart move for Memory, knowing that there are no Goliaths in the game yet. He may be able to take out a tank or two. Here comes the command center now about to land. And he's going to have to be very careful. Okay, those are his mines, excuse me. This is turning out to be a very close game. Once again, looks like they're going to cut each other off in the middle. Both players trying to go around, but then meeting each other in the center instead. And we are seeing a downward expansion pattern. Note that Cassie's expansion at the bottom left has more minerals than Memory's expansion at the far right. I think this was a smart move by Cassie. Even though it's far away from his base and harder to defend, he will manage to mine more minerals over time, allowing him to catch up from his economy deficit. And one SCV dies. It looks like there's simply no way that he's going to be able to get over there. Dropships are going to come into play pretty soon. There is one Vulture, though, at the bottom, taking out SCVs at Cassie's expansion. Cassie cannot afford to lose SCVs at a moment like this. And here comes some more Vultures on the way. Now going to try to take out more SCVs. This is something that Cassie could not afford to have happen. He should have walled in with a depot and get it. Oh, look at that. That is the fattest Vulture in StarCraft, somehow blocking off all of those units. And he will manage to save that expansion, but he has lost a few SCVs. Cassie now expanding in a central location, knowing he secured the right side of the center. He can now expand to location with two refineries. And look at this. 2 ranged out now for memory. He doesn't even have any anti-air. Cassie gonna have to do something pretty faster. More mines coming up. He has to be very careful not to lose any of these mines. He may have to scan that location. Meanwhile, the scanner is only just now coming up for the player, Cassie. The tanks are now backing up. And we can see that we do have a small amount of Cassie's Vultures moving around the map. I think Cassie's made a big mistake by doing that SCV sack and then attempting to overwhelm his opponent early on. The siege tanks now lining up and containing Cassie. Cassie getting in an awful position. And this small amount of Vultures will be useless. Well, they're especially useless right now because they're not actually doing anything but getting themselves killed. And no, he is going to manage to get a few tanks over here at the bottom of expansion. Cassie may lose this game very fast. Cassie now knows he's going to have to move down here and attempt to save this expansion. Here come the tanks now. They may or may not enter siege mode depending on how comfortable memory is. One tank will enter siege mode. And it looks like the Vultures are now on the way down here. Planting a few mines. And look at this. Now backing up. The command center has been lifted. Looks like he's going to use these SCVs to take on this one tank, which Memory will then unsiege. However, Memory now going to be ahead in 2 expansions. A massive advantage. Cassie in a difficult spot. Maybe he should not have taken that massive risk. And he does. There's a small opening at the far left, so Cassie will be able to slip out. He does have a sizable amount of units and also a very balanced army of tanks, Vultures, and Goliaths. And let's see here. I'm not really sure what Cassie can do. He needs to get dropships. He just has no mobility. He's essentially contained at the easiest exit from his base. And I'm not too sure what he could do other than get dropships, although his economy's been damaged, well, essentially by himself for taking such a gross risk. And another expansion going up for Memory. Memory should win this game unless his computer disconnects or something. I don't know how on earth Cassie can beat him now. Here comes Cassie now, though, trying to break that container. Can he do it? This is his last hope. And we can see Memory now moving down here. Cassie has macroed up a lot of units, a very strong macro player. Now taking out a few of these tanks. And he will manage to break the containment, but here comes a few more Memory's units down here. I think the observer's going to go there. There he is. And I think that Memory's, yes, he's already managed to get a few more units. Dropships now coming into play. However, it does appear as though Cassie has managed to carve a hole, giving him a little bit more ground. And a 4-loss science facility will be taken out. Here comes Cassie. This is his last attempt. He has to do something with this attack. I don't think he has it. Note that Memory at the far bottom right side of the minimap has already expanded again. This guy is out of control. And we can see more dropships coming into play. So any hidden expos or expos far away can be taken with ease. There is really no option for a contain point at this point in time with Cassie. He does not have enough units to contain anywhere on the map. And here comes Cassie once again, moving into the center. A few mines in the way, though. Tanks now sieging up. Will it be enough? A lot of tanks taken out by those Vultures. And indeed, Cassie will break the next line of contain. Now moving out. Only one tank. This tank's like, oh my god, what am I doing here? And here comes some more of Cassie's units, also known as AdamaS. And he will have to back up. Siege tanks just in range. It looks as though Memory's fired a little bit faster. And once again, it looks as though Cassie's attempt to move forward has been stifled. And Memory is in great shape right now. Memory knows he does not want to let those siege tanks get to that center location. That's just a little bit to the right of the center location, actually, where he can actually set up a few siege tanks and start taking out SCVs. Here he comes now, though, moving forward a little bit more. I have to say, I'm very impressed with how Cassie is just moving forward, despite the fact that he has less than half of the resources that his opponent has. Look at this, now moving in here. Dropships need to be used right now for Memory if he wants to stay in this game. Another mine going off, taking on that tank, but it does look like indeed Memory will hold on this attack, and good game! Cassie's last attempt failed, and unfortunately that SCV sack at the beginning was what costed him the game. He just tried to do that fast win. Cassie, a very smart player, and I have to say that strategy is pretty smart. I think a lesser Terran would have been beaten. Memory, I'm wondering if he's going to watch that replay. He may have been a little bit confused that last game as to how all those vultures caught in there. And then how he suddenly managed to get ahead anyway. Although Memory's very good, he may know why he's lost that already, or why his opponent lost that already. These are the best of the best at the GOM-TV Averatec-Intel Classic. The next map is going to be Coliseum. AdamaS versus Memory. Two top Terran players. We've seen Memory already beat AdamaS, also known as Cassie, in an upset. Can he do it again, or will Cassie come back? Neither player rewatching the replay, both joining the game. And actually, looks like Cassie's eager to start the next game. He just says, I'm ready to start now. So when these Korean commentators, my bros over there on the camera, finish up doing their few comments, we're going to get this game underway pretty soon. It looks like Memory has also confirmed that he's ready. We're bringing you the best and the brightest down here at the GOM-TV Averatec-Intel Classic. Some very exciting Terran versus Terran games. All games today will involve Terran, so this is going to be very good for all the Terran players who are watching. And I think very soon, yeah, this game is going to get underway. Coliseum, an interesting map, similar in style to Plains to Hill. A very popular map about 5 to 6 years ago. It's also a map I really enjoyed playing on. I think Cassie's really going to have to try to figure out another method for playing if he wants to come out with a win. Cassie, a big risk taker, but also a very intelligent player. And normally his risks turn out in his favor. This is, after all, a player who's won a Star League. Will it be enough, though, to take on Memory, another very good player who is clearly has a possibility of winning this since he's already beaten Cassie in one game? And I think yes, I do believe the game's starting within a second or two here, so stay tuned, get ready, get the popcorn out. We're going to have very exciting Terran versus Terran about to happen. Stay tuned.
2008 TG Sambo